Good morning, everyone. I am Professor Dr. Shruti Bedi, Professor of Law and Director, University Institute of Legal Studies, Punjab University, Chandigarh. I will be talking to you about human rights and the idea of human dignity. And I have the honor of representing at the moment Jagat Guru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University, Patiala, on whose recommendation I am delivering this lecture. So, students and the audience and the ladies and gentlemen who are gathered here for listening to this, I want to put before you the concept of human rights and the idea of human dignity, because human dignity is the basis of any kind of delivery of human rights. You know, every human being has an inherent desire to be respected and also to be treated with a certain kind of equality, absence of discrimination, and the equal representation of all kinds of human beings, regardless of their position, their stature, their power, their financial capabilities in the society. And that is the reason why across generations and across centuries, poets, philosophers, and even the legal courts have always worked on the idea of human dignity. I would like to bring out a reminder from Les Miserables, where Victor Hugo writes that the soul has illusions as the bird has wings, and it is supported by them. Well, human dignity, one may say, is that set of illusions that humanity refuses to relinquish, because dignity sustains the civic and the moral fight that we have as individuals. It is exactly the foundation on the basis of which the society rests, and that is what I want to talk to you about today. That is the human rights jurisprudence that one seeks to build through the human dignity concept. Now, I want to put forth the idea that human rights as well as human dignity is a cross-discipline concept. It is not limited to only the legal field. It is across different disciplines, and every discipline approaches it differently. Immanuel Kant, for example, insisted that unlike objects, which all objects always have a price, but human dignity or a human being possesses a dignity because they feel they exist as an end to themselves. They are not somebody or some things that can be bought, traded, and be put a price tag on. And this philosophical foundation has been responsible for shaping the society and the idea behind the concept of human rights as well. If we look at literature also, we find so many writers in literature, especially Maya Angelou, who says, we people are more alike than we are unalike. And this actually captures the concept that human beings desire to have some kind of a similar background where they want to be projected as belonging to a community which respects their idea of a human being, the humanity, and the human rights which flow from there. If we look at again the world and the concept of human rights, we can say that in the 21st century, we talk about what happened in the 20th century, where we had the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 after the ending of the two disastrous world wars, where millions of people lost their lives, and so many people lost not only their loved ones, their fathers, their brothers, their sons, but all this led to the generation of the concept of prominence being given to human rights. Now, the 1948 Declaration of Human Rights begins with the concept of human dignity, which it recognizes that it is inherent in every human being. And that was the idea which took place and took birth after the end of the world wars. Now, human rights are not given to us by the state. They are not conferred to us by somebody else. They are already inherent in us because we are human beings. Therefore, human dignity becomes both the source as well as the outcome of rights. Now, right to life protects dignity by ensuring the survival of the human being. And if you look at right to equality, it promotes dignity by prohibiting discrimination between different kinds or categories of people. The right of freedom of expression enhances our dignity by allowing individuals to articulate their identity. If we look at the socio-economic rights like health, education, livelihood, they secure conditions necessary for a dignified life. So, dear students and ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the Indian concept, dignity is woven deeply into our culture, our history, our tradition, and even our laws. And beginning with the Constitution of India, the preamble to the Constitution exemplifies every different facet of human dignity. It talks about justice, equality, liberty, fraternity, and it assures the dignity of the individual itself. I would also briefly like to talk about the different cases which have enhanced this concept of human dignity and human rights under the Indian legal jurisprudence. Article 21 itself, which talks about right to life and personal liberty, has been the base and the minefield from which human dignity has been enhanced as a right, as well as the concept of human rights being widened to incorporate dignity of the individual from every different aspect. One of the first cases that comes to my mind is the Francis Coralie Mullen case of 1981, which recognized that individuals do not lead when we talk of Article 21 and the right to life, it does not mean merely living like animals. Animals are also alive, but we as human beings have something more, something different. So you cannot equate the life of a human being with that of an animal. And it is not the mere animal existence that we talk of when we say that Article 21 gives us and protects our right to life as a human being. We have subsequent judgments. One of the famous ones which comes to mind is the K.S. Puttaswamy judgment of 2017, which for the first time in India accepted that right to privacy to every individual was a fundamental right. And in today's time, when we look at the social media, the kind of technology and the development that we have, where everything is exposed to the world, where privacy really doesn't have meaning, this right becomes more important than anything else. And we must safeguard and protect our privacy at all costs. We have the Nalsa judgment of 2014, which gave recognition to the rights of the transgender, the LGBTQ plus community, and the recognition that they are also human beings equally entitled to lead their lives in the best capacity as possible. I'm also reminded of the case of Common Cause versus Union of India 2018, where the court invoked dignity in the context of death, where there is dignity in death, where right to die with dignity was made a part of our Article 21. We have also the case of Shafeen Jahan of 2018, where the Supreme Court of India recognized that every human being and every individual has the right to choose their life partner, and this is a part of the concept of human dignity. So these are various legal cases which have been generated to promote and perpetuate the concept of human dignity and the rights. If we look at the laws for the disabled, or whom we call the specially abled, we have the Rights of Persons with Disability Act. We have laws which prohibit manual scavenging, laws which protect us from sexual harassment at workplace, and we have various laws to protect us from caste-based, community-based, race-based, gender-based atrocities and discrimination. All this reflects the Indian legal jurisprudence to protect the individual from harm and humiliation. Now, I am not here to only talk about the legal aspect, because I say that human dignity and human rights are attractive and impact every kind of discipline. If you look at the students from the field of technology, you on a daily basis encounter the concept of dignity in data privacy, AI ethics, surveillance and algorithm fairness. And in the digital age where people are reduced to data sets or databases, we need to protect this kind of privacy at a very crucial level. For the students of the social sciences, the social science students observe how caste, how gender is, and class and disability can shape the experiences of dignity and indignity. Commerce, management, business, these students encounter dignity in the digital governance, in the corporate, in the labor sector, the rights and the business ethics that they have, and economic structures treat individuals sometimes as resources behest of dignity. Literature, history is reflecting dignity at so many levels through the writings, through the poems that they are talking about. Now, if we look at the emerging jurisprudence on human rights and human dignity, I would like to place human dignity at the center of public discourse. And when we talk of technology and dignity, artificial intelligence has already influenced deeply employment, welfare distribution, healthcare access, and policing, among so many other things. So when algorithms perpetuate bias, they compromise dignity. And that is what we need to be careful of, and that is what we need to protect. And that is something that I want to share with students who are engineers, who are working in the field of technology, because these are genuine concerns that we are facing. If we look at people who deal with the subjects of migration and refugee protection, displaced populations are challenging the global commitment to humanity. Climate justice we speak of, environmental degradation is impacting our health, our livelihood. And the courts are increasingly concerned how to ensure the environment and the protection of the lives of people through protecting the environment. Gender and sexuality. We speak of expansion of rights of women, the LGBTQ plus community, and the gender minorities that we have. And all this finds its basis in the concept of dignity. We talk of bioethical challenges under which we have reproductive rights, we have genetic research and end-of-life care. All this again illustrates our commitment, how science and ethics are committed to upholding human dignity. Now, I would also like to talk to you about the everyday life lessons from this concept of dignity and from the legal jurisprudence that we have all these years been able to generate, and what as students you must carry forward with you. So first of all, my advice and my suggestion is that actually dignity is present in all of our actions on a day-to-day basis, and it is reflective of how we treat each other, how we are talking to each other, what is our body language, and when we talk of the current generation, I find I come across so many instances where youngsters are unaware of the feelings of other students or their friends or colleagues or peers, where they may share a picture or make a meme on another classmate, unmindful of what impact this would have on the dignity and the respect which that individual desires. And in a world where Instagram, where Snapchat are very common, any Instagram reel shared by in the public can wound a person deeply and impact his dignity. It is a kind of a formal reprimand to the person. And even when you make fun of somebody on a WhatsApp group, it is, if communicated to the person, if that person becomes aware, the dignity of the person and individual is impacted. Secondly, fairness is a habit, not just a principle or a doctrine. In student life, if you look at it, natural justice appears at every corner. How you treat one another. If you have heard a gossip or a rumor about your fellow student or your friend, do you immediately jump into the gossip, perpetuate by forwarding it to others, and also discussing it in public, adding 2 bits of your own, impacting and again unmindful of how that person would feel ultimately by being subjected to such rumors? So our duty here is to first listen, then verify the facts, and then try to rectify the situation. We must put ourselves in that person's spot and situation, because when a rumor circulates on a class group or in the public, it can have a deep impact, a negative impact on the life, mind, health of that particular individual. Thirdly, autonomy, privacy must be respected. Our own as well as of others. It is not that my right to privacy is important and not those of others. Today, students are all the time perpetually navigating a world where we are subjected to documents about everything, and autonomy here means, protecting the dignity here means that when we post videos or pictures about somebody else from hostel corridors, from our the corridors of our institutions where we study, by tagging friends or by not tagging friends in the social media because those friends may be uncomfortable with, is being mindful of the concept of dignity that they deserve, the respect that they deserve. And just because he or she is your very close friend doesn't mean that you need to check their phone. And we must ensure and maintain their privacy. Law reminds us that silence is not always being neutral. When you encounter injustice in some form or the other, when your friend or your known student is excluded from a club or a group of people just because they don't fit in the vibe, it means that you must make efforts, not by remaining silent, but also by putting forth your point of view and justifying their presence. Privately supporting the person may not really have that kind of an impact. And accountability, always remember, is a shared civic duty. So how we manage our events, our programs, how we include our friends and students and colleagues is all a part of the concept of human dignity. We are not to announce somebody's personal breakup on Snapchat. It's not a story which has to be perpetuated. Ultimately, I would say that dignity lies in the small acts that we have, where judgments from the courts are written with a lot of care and are not an instinctive reaction to something. And it is our gestures, our behavior that goes on to perpetuate how a person is treated and how you treat another person with dignity and respect his rights at the same time. You are not to say, share the screenshots of your personal chat with somebody else, because that violates and disrespects their dignity at a very deep level. I would like to conclude where I think one of the old sayings by Tagore still hold true, where he says, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. And I think this is the most important concept which really captures dignity of the human being in all its respect and articulates it at a deeper level. Individuals should have the freedom, the confidence and the respect which is necessary for them to be treated as a human being. Thank you so much, everyone.